Nelson. Here. Shermley. Here. Knoll.
Here.
Michelson.
Here.
Wong.
Here.
Myers. Here. Moorhead. Here. Runyon.
Here.
McFadden. Here. Odell.
Here.
Gallagher.
Here.
Wassmer.
Here. Board being present, this is a duly constituted meeting of the Prairie Village City Council. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Are there any students or scouts in the audience other than our team council? Seeing none, the first order of business is to welcome and to congratulate our new team council members. If each of you would please stand and introduce yourself, give us your name, your school, and I understand you're going to be represented, so if you can also tell us which word you're going to be in. And we'll start with you, Helen.
My name is Helen Sun, and I'm from Kansas City Christian School, and I'll be in Ward 2. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zoe Nason. I am homeschooled and I will be representing Ward 1.
Hello, I'm Tyler Ruzick. I go to Shawnee Mission North High School, and I'll be representing Ward 4.
I'm Scout Rice. I go to Shawnee Mission East, and I'll be representing Ward 3.
Great. Let's give them a round of applause. Would you all like to come join us? Prairie Baptist. Is there anybody who wants to speak to the council on any topic other than Prairie Baptist? Okay, seeing none. We do have a 5-minute time limit per person, and I'm hoping not all of you want to speak. But please, if you would like to address the council, please come to the podium, state your name and address.
I've been a member at Prairie Baptist Church for 16 years, on staff at Prairie Early Childhood Center for 11 years, and a Prairie Village resident for 18 years. I am here in support of Prairie Baptist Church, located at 7416 Rowe Avenue, and to share a little bit about who we are as a Prairie Village neighbor, as it relates to the issue we bring before you today related to our property. Prairie Baptist Church has been a part of Prairie Village for 66 years. We currently serve approximately 350 active members. 18 of those families live in Prairie Village, with the majority of the membership living in Johnson County. Our Prairie Early Childhood Center serves 36 families living in the Prairie Village and approximately 170 children living in Prairie Village and Lower Johnson County. 66 years ago, Prairie began as a small community church focused on serving its local and global neighborhood, and continues to do so in a variety of ways. Prairie supports city food drives and peanut butter collections. We serve the homeless population, including several weeks out of the year, housing local families in our building. We host an annual Easter egg hunt held at Porter Park, trunk or treat, and fall festivals, inviting the greater community. Since we are on a high-traffic street and corner, 75th and Road, Prairie Village Police often share our parking lot, watching traffic and keeping the roads safe. Our neighbors across the street have no street parking and are welcome to park in our parking lot. Voting takes place in our building, requiring Prairie Village residents to use our parking lot and building to come cast their vote. Recently, water and street work trucks have parked in our parking lot to gain easy access to the road, avenue, street work, and water work repair. Last Friday, our church was used to host the annual Alzheimer's fundraising event for the Alzheimer's Association located at 7th Fifth and Mission. They serve individuals and families in Prairie Village and beyond. Numerous other civic organizations use our property and parking lot for the community needs. We strive to be a good community neighbor through our service and welcoming community groups. Because I work at Early Childhood Center and attend on Sunday mornings, I park in the parking lot most days of the week. I've witnessed the deterioration of the parking lot and the continued erosion of the hillside taking place over the years. Due to the collapsed area of parking lot and rutted out ground beneath continuing down to the hillside, our Childhood Center congregation and members of the community who use the parking lot have decreased parking availability and concerns for safety. The city declared the area unsafe and required us to put a protective fence to keep people from parking where there once were parking spaces. I myself have had concerns about children and the center's children and their families parking near the collapsed area for fear of further collapse. The fence is an unattractive statement in the neighborhood seeking to beautify the community. The hillside, fence, and crumbling parking lot are and have been an eyesore and concern to the church community and the neighbors around us. Prairie Baptist members are here today to share our stories and to seek the city's partnership in this ongoing problem and concern.
My name is Beverly Cosby. I live at 12451 Park Hill in Overland Park. I have been a member of Prairie Baptist Church for 32 years. In addition, I am also a staff member at Prairie. I started on the Early Childhood Center as a teacher and moved into administration, and my current position is church administrator. As early as 1999, there were concerns from the church regarding the deterioration left behind after the reconstruction of the creek bed. Over the years, church representatives have endeavored to have conversations with city employees seeking a solution to the ongoing problem. The church attempted a solution at one time, but was requested by the city to remove the concrete, which we did in a timely manner. A church representative did meet with city personnel at that time to better understand our right to make repairs. It was learned that the property belongs to the church, but we could not alter anything on the hillside. It was suggested that we put additional curbing in. We did seal the parking lot and added curbing in the early 2000s. This was done in an effort to divert water that flows down our parking lot from the street at our 75th Street entrance so that it would flow further down our parking lot where the hillside grade is less steep. It was also suggested that we remove a storage shed, which we did, due to continuing concern that there was constant undermining of the hillside under our parking lot. In addition, significant water runoff continued from the 75th Street entrance down our parking lot and over the existing curbing onto the hillside. In 2011, during a major renovation, we resurfaced and improved curbing, recognizing that the problem area was showing signs of continued undermining below the parking lot, as well as cracks were happening further back in the paved area. The hill did indeed collapse the summer of 2013. We were informed by the city we needed to erect a fence for safety purposes. We were cautioned not to enter the hill area to do preventative work to prevent further erosion. Representatives from the church made arrangements to meet with city employees regarding the ongoing situation. City employees did not attend. There has been and continues to be an ongoing issue with water flowing down our parking lot from the 75th Street drainage, which directly flows onto the collapsed hill area, causing further deterioration to the hillside. It is the church's desire to work in partnership with the city to solve the drainage from 75th Street into our parking lot, as well as to stabilize the hill to prevent further collapse.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brian Smith. I'm an 11-year resident of Prairie Village. I live at 4409 West 93rd Street. And I'm an 11-year member of Prairie Baptist Church. I'm the immediate past moderator of Prairie Baptist Church, which in the city of Kansas is the president of that organization. And I served in that role for 3 years in 2011 to 2013. Two of my 3 children attended Prairie Baptist preschool program from 2007 until 2013. And I guess I say all that to make the point that I spent a lot of time in the church, on the grounds, and in the business of the church itself. I'm going to tell a little story about the sliding of the parking lot into the hillside. In the summer of 2013, I arrived at church to find that the far northern end of the parking lot, directly in line with the 75th Street entrance to the church, had collapsed, and that the guardrails had been reached. After some quick investigation, it appeared as if the cause of the collapse was a combination of a tree root structure erosion and then falling on the asphalt and guardrail, as well as erosion under the asphalt itself, where it met the embankment hillside. I was immediately concerned about the safety and stability of the parking lot structure for our members, and especially the preschoolers that come to the building on a daily basis. I was also curious as to why this erosion has occurred and what can be done to prevent further damage. Not knowing the history of the hillside, I did some personal investigation by looking for the source. Very quickly, I realized that a significant amount of water was running from the south and west, entering the parking lot from 75th Street, down in the middle of the parking lot and going into the creek just north of the PVC property. Upon further investigation, I realized that approximately from Briar and 75th Street, which is just west of the church, at the crest of the hill to the corner of 75th and Road, and neither side of 75th has any storm drain, sewer drains. Because of this, the rainfall and snow melt in this section of 75th Street has no other way to get to the lowest point than to go through the church parking lot. I can only assume the runoff from 75th Street to the parking lot was the cause of the erosion. Shortly after the damage occurred, we did what we could to mark off the dangerous area and prevent people from walking or parking near the collapsing parking lot. In consultation with our board and ground committee, we were able to secure some fencing and put it around the area that serves as a more permanent barrier to prevent injury. That fencing is still in place today. We also attempted to prevent further erosion and secure the existing structure by placing rock on the hillside, but we were prevented from doing so by the city. After a meeting with the building and grounds committee, it was decided we would try to arrange a meeting with the city to determine what could be done and the next steps to fixing this issue. But during my time as moderator, we were unsuccessful in setting this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Kathy Pickett. My address is 1832 East 97th Street, Kansas City, Missouri. I am the senior pastor at Prairie Baptist Church, and I have been there since the beginning of November 4th, 2013, and stepped into this story. I immediately was asked to be involved and to pursue ways to begin working with the city and working with our congregation to see what we could do in partnership to help resolve the continued deterioration of our hillside and the ongoing issues that we experience. As senior pastor of Prairie Baptist Church, my role is indeed that of a pastor and a servant leader of our congregation. However, I also hold the lead responsibility in partnership with our governing body to maintain the operational business side of being church. This includes oversight and leadership given to maintaining our property and the cost involved in doing so, and to effectively communicate and answer to our congregation. We therefore have to seek their approval before we do anything, before we make any possible decision to move forward with any hope of restoration. I share all of this in response to the accusations that we had threatened a lawsuit in our last meeting. In our final meeting with the Prairie Village representatives, including the mayor, we were discussing and things were going along nicely after 2 meetings with city staff. about what possibly could be done. At this point, it had been discussed that water was indeed coming off of 75th Street and there were no drainage systems. As we looked at the curb sides together at the top of the hill off of 75th and our entrance, there were two new big areas of curbing that had been poured. At that time, Keith Bradenhoff said, yes, I can see exactly what is happening here. The curb turns in this way on one side and turns into our drive this way on the other side, and has been poured incorrectly. It was discussed that that could be repaired this year, and that we learned later that curbings were being repaired this year, and so that it would fit into the budget. Ongoing in the conversation, we were presented with a drawing of what our grounds look like, and given some suggestions of what we might possibly do. Our hope in meeting with the city officials, and with Mayor Wassmer was that they would see the long history of what had taken place and recognize the responsibility of what had been left behind several years ago. And then the ongoing lack of response over the years, causing further deterioration as we were hoping to partner. In that meeting, we did have an attorney there who immediately in our first meeting, I said I want to be very honest and transparent. Walt Simpson is here as a church member and a representative to simply help us listen and know what to ask after this very long time of getting nowhere. Just so all of you know, he is also my dad, and he is glad to come and listen on my behalf and on our congregation's behalf. Towards the getting near to the end of the meeting, when we realized that there was no other accountability or responsible measures being offered, the question was asked by him, so where do we go from here short of litigation? It is in your notes, in your packet that you received, and the letter that I sent to the mayor right after we met. We were accused at that point of threatening a lawsuit, and were told that all offers were off the table. It was not until later, after we hired a civic and a geotechnical engineer, that we learned from our new board rep, Serena, that the only decisions that can be made related to the city partnering in any sort of way to help us would be to come before you and share our story. It continues to be our desire to partner with the city in whatever way the city would determine best. And our hope that the city will take seriously a very long history of neglect and property left unresolved and continuing to deteriorate. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Zacharias. I live at 10330 High Drive in Leawood. And I've been a member of Prairie Baptist Church for 9 years. I currently serve as our church moderator and chair of our congregation council, and it's in this role that I have been actively involved in the Hillside project and attended the meetings held last year with city officials and staff. Before I go on, I do want to recognize that there are several members of Prairie Baptist Church who have come in support tonight. And I'd like to ask you to raise your hands or stand so the city is aware of your attendance. Thank you. Following our last meeting with the city officials that Dr. Pickett described, the church pursued to have engineering studies conducted to fully understand the order of magnitude that was before us, and to start exploring options for stabilization of the hillside parking lot. Prairie Baptist Church contracted at its expense with Phelps Engineering for civil engineering services and Terracon for geotechnical engineering to provide a slope stability study, and to offer professional recommendations on remediation alternatives. These surveys and studies were completed last winter, with findings and reports delivered in April of this year. A copy of the Terracon Geotechnical Engineering Report was provided to the city for your review in our packet that we provided to Serena. Subsequently, the church has continued to work with Terracon and now George Butler and Associates, GBA, for civil engineering services to understand their findings and explore options for stabilizing the hillside and parking lot and provide water diversion control to remediate this 20-year-old problem. Terracon and GBA have presented us with several different conceptual studies for restoration and probable cost estimates of $100,000 to $150,000. We presented two such concepts in our packet of information provided to the city. Prairie Baptist is asking the city to join with us and work together in designing and implementing the best solutions to meet the city and Prairie Baptist needs. Tonight, we have believed that we have demonstrated that over 16 years, Prairie Baptist has worked in good faith to coordinate and work with the city on resolving this problem. That unfortunately, we believe the city has not followed through on commitments it made to the church. We have shown in videos and photos that we provided in our packet that there is excessive water runoff from 75th Street that has contributed to the hillside deterioration, and that the city's engineer admitted that the sidewalks and curbing at 75th Street entrance were not constructed properly by the city, and subsequently the city committed to rebuilding the 75th Street Drive entrance, which, as Kathy stated, that offer was withdrawn. We believe that there is a shared responsibility in what has led to this hillside deterioration and collapse, and that there is a shared responsibility in resolving the situation. We request that the city partner with us in bringing resolution to this matter. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Residents appreciate you coming tonight and appreciate those of you who took the time to speak. Public participation is a chance for you to present your views to us. It is not on our agenda this evening, so we will not actually be discussing this as a council, but I wanted to give our city administrator a chance just to respond if you want to, Quinn.
Well, it's good to appreciate the views of the church being shared. I was in the meetings that took place a year ago with the mayor, myself, Keith Brady Hoff, our public works director, and Ruth Hopkins, who was a council member at the time for that ward. As we have many times in the city, the question comes up, whose role is it? A property owner's role or a city's role when you have interactions, whether it's a street tree or drainage or water. I can't necessarily speak all the way back to 2007. I wasn't here at that time when Brush Creek Project concrete was built. The plans show a very limited profile impact down near the channel. Again, I wasn't here. I can't speak to how far it went up the hill slope. In visiting with the church group, we met twice last year. We did a tour. We had very, like mentioned before, I thought productive meetings. And as far as there's two issues that they identified. There's water that does flow from 75th Street due to the drainage patterns down into the parking lot. I don't know for sure who built that drive approach years and years ago. 99.9% of the time, that's the developer or the homeowner or the church, and why it was built by that. Again, I'm going to assume at some point the church built that drive approach off 75th Street. Why it was built without curbs, I don't know that. We wouldn't allow that today for a private property owner to build without a curb. At any point, the church could have brought in a right-of-way permit to build a curb and a curb entrance along 75th Street. When we met, we tried to be helpful and conciliatory. We did go ahead and agree to rebuild. That would have been at city expense and fairly good city expense. And then as mentioned, there was comment about how can we pursue this further or some sort of comment. And at that point, the offer was withdrawn. That portion of 75th Street is about 20%, or estimated to be 20% of the water that then flows to the erosion off the parking lot. I think it's, just by statement, I think it's a lot to say that the water off 75th Street caused all of that erosion when it's 20%. Again, that there's a partnership, you know, is it private property owner's role? Is it the city's role? The erosion off of the parking lot has quite a history, and you heard some of that tonight. Bob Prisby was involved. He retired in 2009, many years ago. Keith then was involved. He's not here tonight. What's the role of the city in a private property drainage item? That's a question mark. When we met with the two groups, staff, we viewed that as a private property item and recommended they get an engineer to look at that area and make recommendations, which they have done since then. There have been comments, and I wasn't in the meeting when Bob Prisby met with the church residents in 2007, 2008. There's been comments about not being able to do anything with the hill slope. We made it clear when we met last year, absolutely the church could do something on the hill slope. You need a drainage permit, and it needs to be reviewed by Public Works, but absolutely there could be something done. It's not a hands-off situation by the private property owner. We would seek your guidance on how involved the city becomes in this issue.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be discussing that tonight, but we can look to put it on a future agenda. So.
We'll be bringing it up in the business to talk about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Next item is consent agenda, and this contains those items that are considered routine and will be approved at one time unless somebody would like to remove an item for further discussion.
I'd like to remove item number 2 and recuse myself. That conflict of interest.
Did you want to discuss that further?
I do not. It just needs to be voted on separate. I cannot vote on that.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Serena?
I need to make minutes for some changes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Under page 8 where it says Serena Sherman recalled there are 5 veterinarians, it's 8 veterinarians. And then on page 11 where it says discussion ensued, and Mayor Wassmer and I were talking, it was talking about the priority list, not the majority list. So Serena Sherman said the majority has spoken. What I said was that the priorities, we were, Ms. McFadden was speaking, and then you spoke, and we were talking about the priority list, and I said, well, they are setting the priorities. I didn't say anything about the majority. Okay, thank you.
I also had some amendments to the minutes. I've given, Megan has a copy of these already. The bottom of page 8, on characterizing my own comments, I inserted some language that captured the concept of the fact that the city has limited resources. Therefore, if we're chasing down well-behaved dogs that some of those resources, we could instead allocate those resources to reducing risk from actually dangerous dogs of any breed, was the change I suggested. And she has the language there.
Okay, and again, remember, we don't try to capture verbatim everything, so as long as she's capturing the gist and
Yeah,
it's accurate.
it did,
Okay.
and even what I said isn't verbatim, because I don't have that good a memory, but there was a conceptual miss there.
Okay.
Trying to get in there.
Thank you. Dan?
It will not change the outcome, but my recollection is I was on the losing team on the alcohol. I think it was assault against
Thank you. Any other items to be discussed separately? Okay, we're gonna vote on number 1 and 2 separately.
Let's make a motion for approval of the consent agenda, items number 1 and 2.
Weaver. Aye. Nelson. Aye. Shermley. Aye. Knoll.
Aye.
Michelson.
Aye.
Wong.
Aye.
Myers. Aye. Moorhead. Aye. Runyon.
Aye.
McFadden. Aye. Odell.
Aye.
Gallagher.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now we'll do number 3. Yeah, we probably need a motion
So
for
moved.
number 3. Thank you. A second. Call the roll again for number 3.
Weaver. Aye. Nelson. Aye. Shermley. Aye. Knoll.
Aye.
Michelson.
Aye.
Wong.
Aye.
Myers. Aye. Moorhead. Aye. Runyon.
Aye.
McFadden. Aye. Odell.
Abstain.
Gallagher.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Any reports from committees? Anybody have anything? Okay, mayor's report. First and foremost, thank you to our Jazz Fest committee volunteers. Thanks to the art council members for their support. Thanks to our staff. Thanks to Public Works. Thanks to Public Safety. As they say, it takes a village, and boy, did it. But what an incredible event. I don't know how we lucked out with the weather that we did, but it was just amazing. And we are continuing to hear just fabulous, fabulous comments from people who said it was just such a great event. They really loved it, and just kudos to everybody who was involved. So, and thank you to many of you who came. Really appreciate seeing you there. Also wanted to give you an update on one of the things, if I can find my notes. Miss McFadden's invitation I read to both Corinth and Briarwood. Were they second graders or first graders? Which is very fun. Got a chance to answer all their questions about government, what a city council does, what the mayor does. So that was great. Attended the Mission Hills Public Safety Lunch. I know Quinn was there, Chief was there, many of our police officers were there, and it was a chance for the mayor of Mission Hills really just to thank our police officers for all they do for them. Quinn and I met with Johnson County Library to get an update on their plans for 2017. That's when they start getting some money, so it looks like they've got some ideas for how they might be updating Corinth, which is pretty exciting. Attended the Northeast, yes.
The Corinth is until 2022.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They do have other improvements in other libraries.
Okay, thank you. We had the Northeast Mayor's Lunch in Prairie Village. I was able to host the mayors at Posh Party, which is what our new event space is located at 89th and Road. I did a ribbon cutting there about a month ago, which was very impressive. This little event space, they can tailor your party. They can completely theme it. She has probably 50 different place settings of plates and napkins and everything to really make your event special. So it was a chance to show off one of our local businesses, and all the Northeast mayors thought it was really great. At the same time, we participated in a video. The Shawnee Mission Foundation asked the mayors to participate in that, talking about what we liked best about Shawnee Mission School District, and then they asked us to do a very silly dance. So I apologize in advance if I embarrass you. If you're going to the Shawnee Mission breakfast, you will see yours truly dancing badly, but it was still fun. Quinn, Brooke, and I met to discuss next steps for the village serve on the committee. So far, they have said yes. Brooke will be chairing that committee. I've also asked Terrence and Sheila to participate since they are chair and vice chair of parks. Courtney has volunteered to participate. We're also going to be asking somebody from Public Works, Planning Commission, and then a privileged citizen to get involved in that as well. And then they will come forward with what the next steps are. I think that is all I have. Next, staff reports. We'll start with Eugene.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. I think everybody's aware that on 9/11, Johnson County Sheriff's Deputy Brandon Collins was killed in the line of duty. Not a very sad deal. A lot of our staff knew Brandon and worked with him. He's been a sheriff's deputy for about 21 years. We had at least a dozen to probably 15 officers attend his memorial service last week. On a much better note, I can't remember if I told you guys about Captain Levitt came to me with a program called Lunch with Law Enforcement, kind of a twist on Coffee with the Cop. We started that last month, and we're rotating schools once a month. And last month, or earlier this month, we hit the Linder Elementary. We had a couple officers go in and have lunch with the kiddos, and we're just rotating through the different grade schools. So the officers that went said they had a pretty good time, so we'll see how that goes.
Great, thank you. Melissa?
Well, it's September, and so that means we're wrapping up a lot of construction projects because while it's 90 degrees this week, it'll be perfect for sod next week in the 70s. And Mission Road will be getting sod as well as some seat walls. And Parks projects are going to be getting seed and landscaping and sod coming up. Our drainage project between 82nd Terrace and 82nd Street is wrapping up. That contractor's hoping to be out of there by next week as well. We had an inlet that kind of got put on the back burner, which I don't blame him. He had a little bit of an issue. We had the bad storm on Friday night a couple weeks ago come through. So we've been giving him a little bit of grace period so he can focus on that drainage project. But tomorrow the inlet gets taken care of, so he is really working diligently. The courtyard project, because of course I can't just play in everyone else's front yard. We have to tear up our own occasionally. The courtyard project is coming right along, and we've done demo work, and the contractor will start filling this week. It's a nice dry week, so we'll start placing some fill and start working on our retaining wall footings out there.
Great, thank you. Wes?
Wanted to briefly let you know that Quinn and I had the pleasure of going to training to learn about small cells. That's the small cell tower attachments to light poles for about 3 hours plus. That law takes effect October 1st. We're currently working with David Waters from Katie's office. There's a good possibility, and Melissa and Keith, because this is subsequently going to be a right-of-way issue, and so the most logical place for this to be is in a right-of-way ordinance. And so we're working on that. It's going to be coming before you October 3rd, even though the law takes effect October 1st. City attorneys, public works directors have all been talking about what the right thing to do is, what can we do, and those limitations. I would tell you there are a lot of limitations placed on this. You've asked what we're able to do. We're going to try to come back with those answers because it is specified what we can and cannot do. And so we do have carriers that are lined up and ready to provide application. The good news is that those coming into our community are wanting to work with us. That isn't the case by some of our neighbors and across the state. And so expect that discussion to continue October 3rd. We feel whatever we can put into effect would also be in compliance with the October 1st enactment date, which is on a Saturday. Our council meeting is on a Monday. So just a heads up, that's how you do it.
Thank you. Ally, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Katie?
I don't know.
Wait.
Yes, I also was going to mention the small cell discussion that Wes and I had to do a good job capturing that.
right, next item is old business. Anybody have any old business to bring before the council? Jory?
So I want to talk a little bit about the email that we got on September 9th from Captain Ward regarding the pit bull mixed dog bite that occurred in Prairie Village on September 2nd, which was 4 days before our last council meeting where we were discussing the repeal of the BSL. And the case was made that we don't have any pit bulls or pit bull bites in our city. Our police resources are supposedly not being used because they don't live here. There was a week delay in this notification to council. I was requesting who on staff or council is giving this information to the media. I think that it's imperative to know so the city can protect the integrity of law enforcement investigations and court cases. I have inquired to what council members have been contacted, and I was informed that information was not going to be shared with me. I requested a copy of the police report and was denied, yet one media outlet was somehow able to obtain a copy on Wednesday, which was less than 12 hours after my request was made. This is a perfect example of why our current ordinance does not work. We do have all breeds of dogs living in our city, whether we know and name the breeds they are or not. Assuming it was a pit bull mix, this girl received 2 small puncture wounds on her nose, which didn't require any stitches. Thank goodness. I'm very thankful that it didn't maim or maul her, as some council believe would happen if we had that breed. Our current law is antiquated and flawed. We will never live in a world without dog bites or risks, nor will we ever live in a world without irresponsible owners. Dogs should be labeled dangerous or vicious based on their actions or behaviors, not on their breed or appearance. All kinds of dogs bite, yet this story about this dog in Prairie Village biting someone somehow makes the news. I received bite information on the same day from Kansas City, Missouri. 2 dogs were taken to the Kansas City Pet Project for quarantine. It was an Akita and a Lab mix. Topeka had a Yorkie and a Maltese mix. There was a Dachshund mix, but none of these made the media. All breeds can bite. The BSL didn't make our city any safer. The dog had been under-socialized because it was living in hiding for supposedly 2 years, even though records have shown that the dog was only adopted January 2015. And isn't it obvious at this point, given what you know about the bite of this young girl, that pit bull-looking dogs bite just like any other dog? The bite wasn't stronger, it didn't maul her. It was like all of the other 22 bites this year. It would have been better for this dog and the victim to have a dog registered, been up to date on its vaccinations, and able to be regulated by the city for being a nuisance or dangerous dog, instead of being in hiding and under-socialized, unable to go out in public, likely unexercised and unstimulated. I believe that 22 bites is the highest number of dog bites we've had since keeping record in 2009. One might ask ourselves, are our residents actually safer? What are we as a city doing to prevent fights from occurring in the first place? Are our officers trained to handle these dogs in different situations, where there is a domestic dispute, a burglary, or an alarm call? And this is a question I'm asking. Do they attend training and receive any kind of certifications? When it comes, the whole force, not just animal control, as far as our officers are concerned. I'm not just asking a question.
I'm not sure what kind of training are you asking do we get? I don't.
Because I know there's trainings around town and out of town that train officers to deal with dogs in all kinds of situations, just like we have a person that's trained to deal with people with some kind of mental illness, that there are programs that are offered to police officers to train them how to deal with potentially dangerous or aggressive dogs.
beneficial for our police department. There's also a National Animal Control Association, and I believe the Kansas Police Academy also offers some sort of training for our officers, which I think would help keep them safer and in turn keep the residents safer. So where do we go from here? I saw on our priority list that we have a committee that is currently working on that, and I would like on aggressive dog ordinance, I believe so.
The police department is prepared later this year to bring forward their recommendations for modification to a dangerous dog ordinance. I don't know if you call it staff committee, but it's not a committee.
Well, I would like to propose that there be perhaps council people added to that, or the vet, where we take our dogs from Prairie Village that are picked up, perhaps have a vet sitting in on that committee, where if we could all work together to help draft an ordinance, or perhaps use the one that was provided to us.
I'll leave that up to the chief.
So, we were working on the dangerous dog ordinance, and then we were sent this other ordinance, by an outside group, which, quite frankly, I mean, good information, but certainly now we have to review that one, so there is a little delay in working on the one we were working on. I'm not sure, and I'm talking to Tori about this offline, veterinarians take care of dogs. Police departments enforce ordinances that you guys want to have enforced. I think we can bring back an ordinance that's going to address some of the issues that we are dealing with, meaning one such recommendation is pulling the review out of the city council's hand and putting it in front of the municipal judge. That is one example. There's going to be some decision points that all of you are going to need to make, but we can bring those forward. And I think, like Quinn said, we're prepared to do that later this year. And so, Mayor, I don't know if we need a committee. I don't know that. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to gain by having lots of people trying to push the ordinance together. We work with the city attorney on ordinance, and we have all the other cities' dangerous dog ordinance in our possession. So we're trying to find the best and work through it. But if we have a committee, then we'll work with that.
I think this is an item that probably is best to come before the entire council versus having certain people work on it. I just think everybody's got very strong opinions, so I would encourage Chief just to bring, based on what you've heard from people already, bring the best one forward and let the entire council weigh in on it. The entire council's gonna weigh in on it anyway.
Mayor?
Yes.
To Jerry's point about council improvement, there's a lot of us said at the last meeting. I think if we have ideas that we want to see incorporated into it, it would be a good idea for us to forward them to the chief, so he at least knows what our thoughts are. And then he can figure out, because obviously we all have to figure, Eric brought up some great points of wanting to see juries, had to try to bring up some points. If he has them, he can figure out what's working. If it doesn't get in, it can be brought up again later, but we should share with them what we all think.
Absolutely. Did you have anything else? Okay, next is new business.
claim?
Yes, I took a quick glance at the Terracon report. I do mention that if you look at that, some of the pictures in there are not what is occurring behind the Baptist church. They're a similar project that they're representing there. Just make sure that that's clear. Because the similar project shown is, has some dramatic pictures. I just want to make that clear if you're glancing through that. I didn't see anything, it could have been in there, anything about 75th, well, there was some reference to water coming off 75th Street, but it ultimately comes down to who's responsible for private driveways. You know, and that's going to be a decision that we as staff, we believe the private property owner, just like occurs everywhere else in the city, is responsible for private drive approaches. If council wants to change that, they can. Now, that's not to say if we are going to be doing 75th Street at a future date, that would be improved at a future date when curb and gutter is put in or replaced on 75th Street. There have been occasions where the drainage isn't proper on a resident's driveway, and when we go in and do curb and gutter work in that neighborhood on that street, then we go ahead and change that approach, change the profile as part of the project. But to do a one-off on the private drive approach, that's not usual.
It seems to me it's slightly more complicated than just a private drive approach. You know, two things about the statements we heard from the public tonight trouble me. I don't know the truth of them. I wasn't there, and I don't have the expertise. But one statement was made that Keith and/or his predecessor at some point said that the work on 75th Street was not done the way it should have been done. I mean, the city's work there. And then the other thing that troubles me about what I heard is that the city was prepared to do something for whatever reason to partner with the church on a solution. And then apparently abruptly withdrew that for what sounds to me like it might have been a misunderstanding. I'm a lawyer. Sometimes we talk in ways that are perceived to be abrasive and litigious when that's not the intent. Again, I wasn't there. This lawyer may have been saying this statement in the context of, I don't want to go to litigation. So short of litigation, I want to work this out. What can we do? I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, but I'm just wondering if there wasn't a possible misunderstanding there. These two questions in my mind make me inclined to support Serena's decision to at least re-engage with this church to see what, if anything, might be done on a partnership basis.
If Keith was here, he could answer the first one fairly quickly. I'm not quite certain what reference he has. The ADA ramps on 75th Street were redone, but that's still the same 20% water drainage area that we're talking about and always has been. So I would have to have Keith express maybe what he said or how that was represented. Curvature in a drive approach or an ADA, it's still running downhill. It's still an impervious surface. So I'm not. I would have Keith respond to that. You know, there's often these situations that come up, and staff gets into them almost daily, and some of them become really difficult decisions. Whose role is certain particular items? You know, street tree limb. You know, is that the property owners? Is that the cities? How is it hanging? Does it look like it's dangerous? Is it not? And so these sort of issues come up almost daily.
But if this was so clear-cut, just a private issue, why were we prepared to do something earlier? That's what I'm having trouble understanding.
At the time, that meeting was going very well and very smooth. We wanted to help out, try to say, okay, we'll assist with your private property drainage issue by taking the 20% or 25%, somewhere in that range, off the public street. We'll work with you on that. The idea being, if we were going to be doing the 75th Street project in the near future anyway, that would, at some point, we would redo that right approach. The church could do it before then and could have done that for several years now.
I think that street was just kind of redone, where the curbing and all that stuff is, just like within the last.
Yeah, but not curb and gutter.
No, we did a UBAS project on that section, which is just a line mill and a 3/4 inch overlay. Our standard mill and overlay is more a 2 or 3 inch mill, and we replace either spot curb and gutter, or we do full curb and gutter, which we did on the road last year. We did full curb and gutter, and on that street, when we do full replacement like that, we do driveway aprons. So on a full project, we do typically come through with some driveway apron replacement. But on that 75th Street project, it was just some minor spot curb repair, a couple of throat inlets, and then some patching right before that UVAX went down. So I would actually have to go back and look and see where the spot repairs were made. And prior to that, I think maybe about 4 years ago, I'd have to check again, where we did some spot repairs on 75th Street.
Dan?
When the information is being requested, assuming, and I don't know this, but assuming the water is the cause of the collapse and the erosion and so on and so forth, does that information indicate from where the water is coming?
In the Terracon report, there's a dashed lines that show the drainage basins in the right area, the drainage area, the watershed that drains to the eroded spot on the parking lot.
So in layperson's terms, the water that goes through the driveway, the source of that water is in the report.
The source is where?
I'm asking, is the source of the water that's going in the driveway?
Visually, yeah, visually it is.
I'm sorry, is that?
Visually, so I didn't see the thing where I broke it down portion by percentage on the street, and then all the rest of it's from the church property. So if you look at the Terracon report, there's some dashed lines that show the drainage area draining to the erosion off the edge of the parking lot, about 20%. I didn't see a percentage from the Terracon report. That was an estimate made by city staff. Comes off of 75th Street, and the remaining 80% comes from the church property itself.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I think this issue, I'd like to see basically all the facts, I want to act on how this came about, and truly what it would take to correct the problem, if it is our problem or not. But with that being said, we'll put this back on Public Works Department. We're looking at additional water projects, SMAC funding, we've got a full plate, so I also want to make sure how we put things into the priority list, is what we talked about earlier, on not just because we show up and all of a sudden it's the top of the list, and this is not really how it should work. Glad to hear from people and want to understand the full problem, and also want to understand, if we have involvement, if we don't have involvement. Right now, I can't make that decision without additional information in front of me. So again, I think it's worthwhile getting some information, but I also want to make sure we're not bumping other projects that are already in line on what we're working on.
Terrence?
I agree with Ted, but I have a couple other questions that I'd like to get some feedback from Keith on. Is any of the water problem a result of high watershed erosion? I'm assuming it's 20% of the street water, 20% of the water coming from the side of the road is what occurred. It's not causing the damage alone by itself in these photographs. So is any of that caused by high water shedding and erosion that net? I also want to know why, when Keith comes back, why we advise them, why the city advised them stop wanting to make improvements on their own. When we asked that question of the people on Delmar just multiple times before, did you make any improvements on your own? And we kind of took a step from a different perspective. Here, we heard, again, we heard on all the facts, that it was an attempt to make corrections on their own and revise, not to. I'd like to know from Keith why we wouldn't let them make those changes.
We can actually answer that.
Yeah. So at one point, I need to look back in the notes and then years. But they mentioned it in the testimony, what was it, 2011 maybe, where the church, in order to help stave off or stop some of the erosion off the parking lot, they took broken chunks of concrete. And I didn't see it, I'm just going off of what's been described in the reports, and dumped it over the edge of the parking lot. That wasn't permitted, as in permitted drainage project permit. Did not obtain a drainage project permit. And so Public Works did find out about it and said, whoa, you can't make those kind of changes without getting a drainage permit. Now, the church claims back when that occurred, they were told not to do anything. We made it really clear when we met from last year, you can do something. You can do improvements on your private property. You can do drainage improvements just like we can in our own private property. You just need a drainage permit, and usually drainage permits require some sort of drainage study or design by an engineer. Now, again, what happened from 2009 to 2014, the church would claim they were told not to do anything. I don't know if that's translated from their efforts to do something and told not to, then they sort of translated that to, oh, you can't do anything. That's a possibility.
Council, I entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we have Public Works to look at the information that's been sent to us and come back with recommendations and work with the church so we have some idea.
Second.
Andrew?
With all due respect to the effort that the church congregation has made in the past and up to tonight, I was supportive of the motion until, with no offense intended, we want to work with the church. Right now, at least personally for myself, I'm only interested in understanding from Public Works, from a city perspective, what the city's responsibility is in this particular case and what the past facts are. So I'm supportive of finding out from Public Works what the city's perspective is. Right at this point, I'm not sure what efficiency or expediency is added to that process by working with the church right now. Certainly, if we have responsibility there, I do want to work with the church. That's just my kind of editorial on the motion.
I thought that's what the motion was.
It was to work with the church, though.
Ted?
I agree with what Amy's saying. Right now, I don't want to make that commitment until we have all the facts. I need information.
Would you be willing to amend your motion?
I can amend the motion when I meant work with the church is get the other information. I'm not sure the entire packet was included in those 54 pages. So asking Keith to get all of the information and be able to come back to council with recommendations. So there was some other stuff that I don't think I included. So I just want to make sure we have the full information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric?
I just need to ask for clarification now. It seems to me like the church has some of the information, certainly these engineering studies. I'll leave it to Keith's discretion. We're not instructing him that he cannot speak to the church or consider their information, are we? Okay, thank you.
one thing I'd be curious about when Public Works comes back is one of the commenters made a statement about how there are no storm drains on 75th. And aren't storm drains under the purview of the county stormwater commission? And I don't know if that is even anything that would weigh into the flow. I mean, is that another issue? So I would be interested in knowing how that plays into that whole thing.
Did we have a second on that? Did somebody second? Yes. Okay, thank you, Jordan. Do you want to restate, please? Could you please restate?
My first motion. I'd like to make a motion that we direct Public Works to evaluate the information that was given to us and to also make sure that they have all the information from the church and come back to council with a recommendation.
Okay. Got it? All right, council, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, announcements. You have those in your packet, but I did see that we've got peanut butter week coming up in October. Make sure you bring your peanut butter or drop it off at Hen House or wherever you go. And, Mayor, we have an executive session, so, yeah. Yes. So, last item is executive session. Ted, do you have the, and just for the public's knowledge, when we go into executive session, that's going to be the last item of business. We're going to leave the council, then we'll come back and adjourn the meeting. So there will be no further business tonight. So feel free to leave. Enjoy your evening. Thanks for coming tonight.
I'd like to make a motion pursuant to KSA 75-43198-2 that the governing body recess into executive session in multi-purpose room
Mama.
for a period not to exceed 15 minutes